Champions are shaped by the time in which they live.
All right, Dale, we're getting started.
Be a champion of our people.
Please give your personal history and your background.
I know that we have roots in Africa, in West Africa, but I was born in a small southern town called Mineral Springs, Arkansas, April the 2nd, 1932, to Retha Hendricks and Steve Porter, my father and mother. April 2nd, 1932, which makes me 85 years old. And we lived there for about 3 to 5 years. My mother and father split up. My father moved to California, and my mother remained in Arkansas and remarried a man named Arthur Littleton, to which my sisters were born, May Carey and Lucy. I was 2 years older than May and 4 years older than Lucy. And I had a joyous childhood. My grandmother and my grandfather were living at that time. My mother's maiden name was Hendricks, and so that we lived with them for a time, I remember, playing. Then my mother remarried this man named Littleton, and we moved way out in the country where he had a small house he had built with his hands. And so we were there for a while, and she and he didn't get along, and my mother took us 3 children, saved enough money on a 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. train to Kansas City, Kansas, around 1940. And we stayed with one of her uncles, one of her father's brothers, named Levi Hendricks, at 1029 Oakland Street in Kansas City, Kansas. We were there about a year. I remember attending Douglas Elementary School, where I met my wife here in about the 2nd or 3rd grade. She remembers, and I certainly remember too. And so that got to know her family. The McIntoshes were upstanding black people, serious black people. Her father was an entrepreneur. Both were college educated, which was really something. My mom only had a 6th or 7th grade education, but it was like she was beyond high school in her understanding and her ability and her reading and doing math and so forth. She taught me. And so that I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, and didn't move away from there. I went through grade school, junior high school, and high school. I graduated from Sumner High School in 1951. I was not distinguishable at that time. I think I was just simply too poor to be anything, but very much anchored in the church community. First in St. Peter's CME Church and Metropolitan Baptist Church, and finally my mother settled in a Pentecostal church, and she didn't force me to be a member. I became a member of my wife and her family's church, Mason Memorial United Methodist Church, mainly because they had somebody there who grew up to love sports. Brother Jesse Freeman, a cousin of my wife, and he organized a basketball team. I was a star on that team, captain of that team, and we won a couple of championships, I remember, and we were paraded in front of the church Sunday morning. I still have pictures of that wonderful experience. That was an anchoring experience, winning a championship and being paraded before the congregation, at least recognized by the congregation, on a Sunday morning by the pastor. It's important when you're a leader, like a pastor or someone, to really make room for young people, to find out what they want to do at that point and try to fulfill that that's where you get them involved in whatever you're doing, and that's where in which they become anchored and strengthened in their endeavors. I grew up in the midst of small gangs, and I won't call their names now, so still living. I finally graduated in 1951 from Sumner High School, um, and attended Kansas City, Kansas Community College, where I graduated from there with an AA degree in 1953. I think my wife graduated in 1954 from the same college. I think that's correct. I worked that summer, part-time job, left the place because of racism on the job, and ended up saving enough money to attend Drake University in 1953, finally, Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. I stayed at Drake for about a year, didn't have enough money to finish and didn't get a basketball scholarship. So a friend of mine, Walter Knox, who was studying to be a lawyer at the University of Kansas, decided we would enter a special program that the U.S. Army and Air Force sponsored, called Scar War. And we joined the Army, 3-year program, and because we both had 2 years of college and were educated, we were able to pass the basic examination and became clerk typist. I think I was running a mailroom. He was doing something else. And that was important. Then we played basketball, good Army basketball team. We were shipped overseas in about 1955. And we got separated because I had to have several teeth extracted, bad teeth, and got that done in the Army. And Walton was shipped somewhere else. So they didn't keep us together as buddies, as they had promised. And I ended up in Camp Carson, Colorado, and then finally shipped overseas to Ulm, with my unit to Ulm, Germany. And that was quite an experience, living in a German culture and experienced that type of very strong European type of culture, but very strongly cultural and agricultural. And that was just a great experience for me, learning a little bit of the German language, and Venus Nickel, which is like a hot dog here, type in the German language. And I graduated with honorable discharge from the Army in 1957, the fall of '57. And a friend of mine was playing basketball at Iowa Western College in Mount Pleasant, Iowa. And so I enrolled there the fall of 1957, yeah. And played ball, became captain of the basketball team. Once scored 37 points in the game, which is very unusual then. And I graduated from college, and in 59, and my white college advisor, I had a minor in philosophy and major in sociology, helped me get a scholarship to Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary, is the name now. Then it was called Garrett Biblical Institute. So I had a 3-year scholarship there to inquire into the ministry, the Christian ministry, as a full-time vocation. I had become involved in the movement while on the college campus, actually while I was in the Army, because in 1954, a friend of mine who was Puerto Rican, black Puerto Rican, he and I had guard duty. We had to cover, he had to cover about a half mile, I had to cover a half mile. And one of those cold, my God, cold December nights. And so you try to find somewhere where you could get some heat. And then they used coal, a big coal furnace, and heat the whole Army camp. and he and I were ducking down often as we were walking, opposite direction. And somebody found that we were in there napping and carrying on. And the captain, probably, captain, a little short, dumpy white guy. And he called us in, stood us before him, and this came to my conscious development as a black man. He said to us, what do I have to do with you guys? Do I have to put a ball and chain on you to keep up with you? And I never forgot those words. Man, those words struck the heart. I felt something inside churning. Man, if I could have grabbed him and hit him, I would. But I knew better than that. And so I took that, and they never did put us back on guard and do it again. But so I wanted to get up out of that camp. And eventually I did. And was shipped to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and from Fort Smith to Camp Carson, Colorado, where I then stayed there less than a year and was shipped to ULM, Germany, where I stayed there a year and a half. And it was at that I decided I was not going to re-up, that is, rejoin the Army. I was going to get out, finish my last 2 years at college, someplace, play some ball, and so forth. And hopefully get an NBA, a call to the NBA to play professional basketball. Okay, the telegram from Dr. King came to me in 1962, actually in the summer of 1962. I had met Dr. King through my lead college professor, Dr. Starcraft, who attended Boston School of Theology with King. And so that we never met personally, but we introduced me to this young man who I think is a candidate for the ministry and needs some theological training more grounded, that was me. And so that's how I kind of met Dr. King vicariously. And so that King then, in the summer of 1962, somewhere around July, sent me a telegram, sent out telegrams around the country, around the world, inviting people to join the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which he was president, in its first nonviolent mass demonstration against segregation in the city of Albany, Georgia, in 1962, summer of 62, as in August of 62. And so I decided that's what I need to do, because I love this prophet. And I knew of him better than I knew of anybody at the time, and then found out about, Nation of Islam and Malcolm, essentially by my association with SCLC. And so that I went to Albany with must have been another 2,000 people from all over the country and the world. About maybe 300-400 from Chicago went. And spent 6 days in Albany jail. And I actually was supposed to stay in there 3 days, but they asked me folks to stay an extra 3 days. I'll take the extra 3 days. But when I was released from jail and came back to Chicago, I was on fire, man, to free black people, on fire for the movement. And then I'd become very much acquainted with the Nation of Islam through hearing Malcolm X speak so highly of it, and through some high school friends of mine from Sumner who had become Muslims, and they were bragging about the nation and so on.
So let me ask you here. Your first interaction with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, talk about that.
My wife, I got married on December 27th, 1960, to this wonderful woman right here, Mrs. June Carol McIntosh Porter. And during our first year in 60, our first year of marriage. In fact, we've been married certainly much less than a year, when Dr. King sent that telegram, and asked me if I would join them in Albany, Georgia, in late August of '62. Now, my son John was born January 24th, 1962. So that he was just a few months old. I was, just in my first year and a half of marriage, and my first year pastoring. So I took a chance. I didn't ask the bishop, who was a white guy. And I didn't ask the district superintendent, who was also a white guy. I didn't ask them like many Negroes would do. Go to them and say, can I want to be in this move with King. Can I have your permission to go? I didn't do that. I just chose to go as a man. Now that had a lot to do with shaping me. Now, I met Mr. Faircamp in 1960. 60, let me get back. My wife and I were married. We were in Woodlawn, and we knew the movies were showing, featuring a play by Mr. Farrakhan, and it was a Negro turned backward. Backward Negro spelled oregano, and my wife said, we said we were going to go see it. So the theater in Woodlawn on 63rd Street, on College, which is torn down now. And there must have been 2,000 people that man wall to wall. And the play was, oh my, Miss Farrakhan wrote that play, trained the actors, and it was being shown in New York and in Chicago. And it was eye-opening. It was grounding for us in terms of blackness, positive blackness. And they depicted the various characters that our people didn't call Negroes had played in the white world, or stereotypical things, boxers, janitors, gamblers, pimps, so and so on, and business people, So it was also a consciousness raiser, and at that time when the play was over, both Mr. Farrakhan and Malcolm X, Mr. Malcolm X, were standing down in front there so you could walk by them and shake their hand. And we did that, and that was the first time I had met Malcolm in person, and certainly the first time I had met Mr. Farrakhan, who had been recruited earlier, a couple of years earlier, I believe, by Minister Malcolm X. And together they must have brought over 40,000 brothers, mostly brothers and sisters, into the Nation of Islam within probably less than a couple of years. So I was impressed with that. I hadn't seen that kind of organization. I was a committed black Christian, and I always had the choice. I said, if I had to choose another faith community, it would probably be Nation of Islam, as some of my colleagues were doing. But I was happy as a pastor. I had been signed to my church at that time. I was still a normal part. One of the pastors happened to be white, Harry Connor. And so but my contact with Minister Farrakhan occurred, I think it was in August when they had that play in Woodlawn, a Negro turned backward. And met both he and Minister Malcolm at that time. Didn't get a chance to talk with them, but just shook their hands and looked them in the eye. So it was significant for me to meet two awesome black leaders besides Martin Luther King and people who are leaders that surrounded King. And so that had a lot to do with shaping my type of manhood, had a lot to do with shaping my family and where I wanted to live and my activity. So I became a very activist black Christian. And I always said that if Nation of Islam, if being a Christian, being free to be a black Christian had not been available, I would probably become a Muslim. But I was so impressed with Mr. Farrakhan and Mr. Malcolm.
Is the next one. Thoughts on the struggle and wisdom for our youth of today and the future.
I think that, wow, we need both the bold, zealous, powerful voices and activity of people like not only Minister Farrakhan, but we need, we need Huey Newton, Rap Brown, Dr. King, and so many others. C.T. Vivian, my God, we need them too. We need all their voice, but their actions. I think our future is like, I've got this written in a book I wrote about President Obama and Dr. Jeremiah Wright, which is available now on the Kindle. In the last chapter, it's like 15 things we need to do with this young black population. Mm-hmm. I think, number one, we need to acknowledge that we can't really totally develop without a sense of godliness. We have to believe that God is not only on our side, but willing to help us to wade through all the mess that we have to wade through, illegal stuff and moral stuff. I think number two, we have to start treating each other right. Not that most of us don't, most of us probably do, but we have to treat each other like we're kings and queens, like we're somebody. Mm-hmm. I argue that the reason black folk or Negroes act up and act out and so brutal toward each other is because the white society doesn't treat us like we're anything, or as the President Trump says, that we in Africans are a S-hole, that we, I heard a white psychiatrist a few years ago on television say, really, tell us what, in terms of psychiatric medicine and Danny, what do many whites really feel about black people? And he said that many of them probably feel that black people are some dung, as the other word begins with S, dung, which worth nothing but be thrown out. No, nothing. Nobody wants to be around stinky stuff. So some of our enemies, not all, and all the whites are not our enemies either. Some are our friends. Some are friends of the nation of Islam. You don't know they support them, they do. They don't come out, but most don't. And many of our own people don't support black institutions and black movements like the Nation of Islam. You know what I mean? Okay. Sister Africa, you are born winner. You are a winner in the spirit of the temptations or impressions. We are winners because you are a winner. Everything you touch is like the Midas touch. It makes you a winner. People want to be around you, want to be with you, want to follow you, want to support you, want to be like you, because you are a born winner.
You've heard it live. I'm here with my dad, Reverend Dr. John Kwame Porter. We're winning with Sister Africa.
Yeah.
You tell us how you became involved in the Chicago Freedom Movement.
I became involved after receiving a telegram in 1962 from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whom I met in 1959, inviting me to participate in my first mass demonstration, nonviolent demonstration, against segregation in the city of Albany, Georgia. After we returned to Chicago in 1962 and attended the March on Washington in 1963, we organized in late 1963 the first chapter of Dr. King's SCLC in Chicago in the Inglewood community. So my involvement started in 1962 with Dr. King with the formation of the Inglewood Christian Leadership Conference affiliate in Inglewood in 1960.
And what do you see as the significance of the Chicago Freedom Movement?
I think it was significant because the significance of it was that for the first time in this city, we were able to merge both secular and religious leadership. That is to say, Al Raby, Bill Berry, with the coordinating council, who headed the coordinating council of community organizations, with Dr. Martin Luther King, who headed the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Those two organizations partnered, coalesced together to produce the Chicago Freedom Movement. Dr. King needed a city, a northern city, in order to succeed with a mass nonviolent movement for the first time. We needed CCO, Al Raby, and Bill Berry and our leadership in Chicago needed a Martin Luther King who had mass national appeal, who was able to galvanize the masses of people, particularly elements of labor, the black church, and black youth. And so we needed someone who had that sort of appeal. Our movement in Chicago was not able to reach the broad spectrum of youth in our community and not able to reach the preachers who were not tied into Mayor Daley's program.